Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pod TV's number one do it yourself advocate show, Timeshare Solution or Surrender with Irene. We are on episode 60, and it is, I think we're helping more people each week than are calling in, and our calls have escalated this year quite a lot. But one of the things that we have learned doing this show is the unity of the people and how when we unify and work together, the solutions happen. We support each other. This is people supporting people. We're able to help people recover their losses or just recover a situation, to help them get back their dignity and employment. Because when you get trapped into a bad timeshare situation, not all of them are bad, and that's why we do this show. But it could just tear not just your life apart, but it can destroy your family. And I have seen this personally. So I just want to thank Irene and her team. I guess I'm part of the team too, but I want to thank them for doing this because they help everyone and they give everyone a peace of mind, something that a lot of people don't have today, but also a way to do this without costing you a fortune. Hello, Irene. We've got some good stories this week, don't we?
Yes, we do. I'm really glad to be back. I'm grateful for the time to be here. And we've heard from 253 families since January 1. Big exit companies may hear from 3,000 in a week, but we have no search engines or ad budgets. And I know someone posted, Joan, who's been a prior guest, a Blue Green owner, and she posted on a Facebook group that you should reach out to TARDA if you have a dispute. We don't like to say get you out of your timeshare. We like to say dispute resolution.
There you
And
go.
because one of the questions is, can you make the best of it? Maybe, and tell people there are a lot of people that like their timeshare. But of those 253 people, anyway, what I started to say was that she had posted that, and some guy from an exit company said, "Oh, well, your organization is worthless, and all you do is disseminate worthless information. And how do you help people get out? You don't." And I said, well, fortunately, because of Pod TV, Timeshare Solution or Surrender, you can watch episode 59. Eric, a retired firefighter who was able to resolve his dispute with Marriott. And this week, we can make, of the 253 people that have reached out this year, we have Don. And Don is in California, and a perfect guest for the day after Easter. We know the Pope has passed away, and Don is an evangelist, and he's going to tell us a little bit about that and how he, all by himself, I can't really take any credit, resolved his Wyndham dispute. And then we have Bill, Captain Bill, who is retired merchant marine, and he did not resolve his Wyndham dispute or his Holiday Inn dispute, and then ended up paying an exit company that is no longer in business quite a bit of money, I believe around $12,000 on top of maintaining the maintenance fees and the loan payments. And it was quite the disaster. And then finally, we have another person who resolved their dispute. We have Melissa, and we're sending our good luck to Melissa. She's going to be taking her real estate exam soon, and she started interrogating me about HOAs. How can they have timeshare have HOAs? I just own this little bit, and so Kim will have something to say about that as well. So we have, and then we have. So we're going to start on a positive note. And we're going to start with Don because he was just over the weekend in the heat of the battle with resolving the last leg of resolving his dispute. So Don, first of all, let's start off, like I said, today's the day after Easter. Tell us a little bit about your ministry. And then, I consider what we do a ministry because we're volunteers. And as Kim said, just Friday, I talked to someone who separated from his wife because of timeshare, and it's devastated their family. So people don't realize how much harm it can cause when not sold properly. So first of all, tell us a little bit about your ministry.
Well, I have a really respected friend. He's like a spiritual grandfather, and he was led by the Spirit of God to go to the streets to preach, and he invited me to come with him out and hold up a sign that says, Jesus is the reason for the season, or God so loved the world, he sent Jesus. And the sign I use now says, Jesus said, I'm the only way to heaven, John 14:6. But so after when you try out a ministry and you see what the Spirit is blessing you with, saying this is a good ministry, this is reaching people, this is reaching hundreds, if not thousands of people, when you're on a street corner and people are driving by. So we're planting seeds. The ministry is called Corner Claimers for Christ, and we're seed planters. We get a chance to talk to people when they walk by. People stop by and want to say thank you, and we get to talk to them at that point. And I also, in my outside that ministry, I also share the gospel. I share tracts. I share little personal Bibles wherever I go. I'm looking for opportunities to tell people about Jesus Christ and his righteousness and eternal life through faith in him.
And now you can say, and if you have a timeshare dilemma in your life, you can tell them about how they can resolve that as well. It really has hurt a lot of families. And I was impressed that Captain Bill recognized your shirt, the Lion of Judah. And so now let's go ahead, let's switch gears. How did you end up in a Wyndham timeshare presentation? Where were you and what did you buy?
So I've known all along not to get involved with timeshares. They have a bad rep. I've heard it all my life. I have a friend who's been with Walmart since 1994. He's a believer. He's also a street preacher. He asked me if I like to use his 2 nights, 3 days in Las Vegas. So about a 10-hour drive or an hour flight. And I said, sure. I'll it'd be nice to go to Vegas and have a place to stay for free. So you go there, of course, and the first thing they do after they check you in is they want you to talk to another person in member services to get you to go to the presentation while you're staying there. And so I said, okay, you get a couple trips, or you can, and money if you want. If you don't want the money, you get the extra trip. And so you go, okay, I'm not going to buy nothing. I'll go to the presentation. I'll get the trips. But you get to, and the next morning, I said, let's just do it right away. Get next morning. Their team is so hype. They're a hype team. They're right. They're just, they're like predators. In fact, I call the manager a predator after I went back there. That's the second story. But, they talk about making memories, and they make it sound so attractive and worth it. And they all have it, they say, and it's just a bunch of excitement, emotional, and they get you going. And I plan on already traveling. And so I was kind of already on the hook a little bit. And then they double the points, double the credits, and put you platinum status. And then they offer 300,000 points on the Barclays credit card that they open, that they put the maintenance fees on. And like I say, it's just as I've learned, they're the best salespeople on the planet. They can talk
Was this
anybody.
WorldMark or Wyndham?
Wyndham, Walmart, I don't know. There's 6 sites in Las Vegas. The sales team is on South Las Vegas Boulevard, at the oldest building that they own in Vegas, as I've learned. But my information says Wyndham, Walmart, both.
Okay, well, they're okay. Wyndham bought WorldMark, so there's WorldMark properties, and then there's Wyndham sells points from
Okay.
yeah. So you bought points, correct?
They gave me points.
But you signed a contract to
Oh,
buy
right.
points.
The contract gave me the 300,000 points. I guess, like you're saying, through Wyndham. This isn't new to me. So, right,
Yeah, that was probably Club Wyndham. And do you remember the purchase price?
Yeah, $70,000.
70,000. Okay, and then you had to battle 4 credit card disputes, right?
Well, here's the blessing, because I used to work for a credit card company. I've always been a credit person. I've helped people get credit. I wanted the points on my own cards instead of putting it on their Wyndham rewards card, where I wouldn't get no points. So I used 3 credit cards, 2 Citibanks and 1 Discover card, to give them $10,400, which is the down payment on the 70,000, because they wanted, that's how much they wanted that day as a down payment.
And so then now, what enticed you to sign that contract?
Well, I think I was there for 6 hours, 6 hours talking. I was having a good time too. I mean, I can put it on myself. I was enjoying the conversation. I was talking to a Christian. They put me with a man that's a Christian. They used that, and there's all this stuff, and pretty much I was getting tired. I was getting like, I need to get out of here. And I tried to leave. They said, no, if you leave, you won't get the same deal. I said, yes, I will, because I need to pray about it. I told them I need to pray about it. I need time to pray about it. And then, well, you won't get the deal. You won't get all this. You won't get all that. It's just pulling you back in, right?
Was it just you?
My brother, who had a major stroke, was with me, but he don't have the mental facility to make any decisions. I make all the decisions for him. I take care of him.
And so was it only just having great vacations? Was that the only reason you signed?
Well, they made it sound like you could go all around the world. They have properties. It's not that expensive. They're nice properties. And then, the just the benefit of getting
You
all,
mentioned
yeah.
you mentioned something about not having to pay maintenance fees or being able to offset your maintenance fees.
Well, that's what they said about the points. The points on the rewards card with Barclays Bank is that the points would offset the maintenance fees, because I asked them a question: why pay maintenance fees and also pay this bucket of money, the 70,000?
Well, and the reason is you're buying the lifelong program, but then maintenance fees, housekeeping, who pays for all of that? You do. Now, on Saturday, I spent a couple hours with someone that has a new complaint against a different developer, and he was told the same thing, but the more detail you can provide when you're disputing, the better. And they actually showed him a chart of his payments were going to be $1,100. But by doing this and using your rewards card and magic of this and that, your payments would only be $514. And that was complete rubbish. So part of it is the omission and half truth. When he did have access to the booking site and be able to see the redemption, it was 0.017 cents. So on a $2,500 maintenance fee bill, you might offset $200 if you're lucky. And that's what now, but what's really unusual is I have seen people 10 minutes past the 5-day cancel period. And I know one time I was looking at, well, when does it start? Does it start at midnight, the day you sign? Does it start the beginning of that day? And so when did you sign and when did you try to cancel?
I signed on Wednesday, September 25th, and the 5 days elapsed on Monday, September 30th. I tried to cancel on October 1st. I called them October 1st, the morning of. I said, and they put me to a corporate there in Florida, and they said I have 7 days because I'm in California. Well, they obviously didn't read the contract and saw that I signed in Vegas. So they're giving me bad information right there. They're not, obviously someone didn't do their job, or they're just, so that delayed me in my action to fight this. For 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, I didn't think I had to do anything, because I thought the contract was canceled and I was out. And so I wasted, 3 to 4 weeks or on top of that, which really upset me.
Told you 7 days?
Corporate, Walmart corporate.
They knew it was 5 days. Yeah, so it's top down, all of this shenanigans. And so what kind of luck did you have calling? Let's see, you told me here there was one charge of 4,300, one of 5,000, one of 1,497, and then 949 a month was being charged to Barclays, and 131 for maintenance fee payments that's a lot to dispute. And
Well,
so how did it go disputing?
so just to clarify, I put the 10,400 on 3 credit cards. So I put 4,300 on a Citibank card, another Citibank card I put 5,000, and on my Discover card I put 1,467. That's the whole down payment. And I disputed all those the first time they came on my credit cards, which was like in November, mid-November, when they were due. So they disputed them. They gave me a charge back, so I didn't see the charges, but they asked for information. Now I didn't think I had enough information to send to them, so I didn't do my job in sending them the information to dispute the charges to the credit card company. But I delayed them, and I just delayed them to give me time, because I plan on protesting them. I actually went there at Thanksgiving with my Jesus signs, and I was going to overlay them with sayings like, "Don't sign their death contract," and I called it a death contract. And I figured I could put pressure on them. And by God's grace, he didn't have me do any of that. I went to Vegas in November at Thanksgiving. I rented an Airbnb. That's another thing. I did not use any of their services. I said, the Spirit said, don't use anything. Show them I don't want this. I didn't book anything. And they kept calling me to book things, to book my freebies and all that. And so I just delayed because my plan was to stick to my plan of protesting and put pressure on them. And then so we had fun. My friend came up. We went to some shows in Hoover Dam. Long story short, on the way out of Vegas, I stopped there to talk to the manager, Brad. And this guy, I threw the contract packet down to him, and I said, I want you to cancel this. He goes, I can't. And he starts saying, well, you wanted this. And he's trying to tell me what I said. And he's recalling all this stuff, and he's throwing it back in my face. And at one point I called him a predator, and he just jumped back, right away the Spirit said, just apologize. So you bring him back in his attitude. Right away after I apologized, I said, I'm sorry for that. It shouldn't have said that. He shakes my hand. I mean, this guy is just ready, right? Shakes my hand. And so I'm sitting there, and funny thing is I start cramping, and I drink a lot of water, and I take sea salt and all that. But I think all the stress in my body just cramped because I was so angry and I wanted to lash out. But as a Christian, I couldn't do it. I was restrained. So my body was hurting, and he offered me a discount on my contract. So I have an email. He discounted my credits from $2.15 a credit to $185. At first, he was only offering a $5,000 discount. I asked for $10,000 discount, and he gave it to me. When I got home, I got the email saying, "Oh, corporate will be contacting you. Good news, we've discounted your credits and your contract." And I'm going, so you can't cancel the contract, but you can give me a discount.
Well, yeah, and it sounds like you bought Worldmark, not Wyndham points, because Worldmark calls them credits and Wyndham calls them points. What made you decide to cancel?
Well, I was already thinking, what have I done that first night, the 25th? I was up 3 hours reading the contract on my phone, and I knew the 5 days. So all this information, I'm just playing like I'm gathering information, but I don't tell them I know this. And that's what you got to do in this life, unfortunately, right? You have to gather information, use it for keep it until you need it, and don't tell people what you're thinking. Don't tell them what you know. You just keep plugging ahead. But I went to them next morning. I said, it's not a good deal. Why am I paying maintenance fees of $3,600 a year, $300 a month? Because that's what the maintenance fees were. By the way, they charge the credit card every first of the month, $301, which went up to $318, which they didn't tell me they go up in January. And then the $949 was the loan payment for the balance of the $70,000 to $60,000, because I paid $10,000 down. So yeah, you're right. It's Worldmark because they use credits. But yeah, I sat there for 3 hours, and they back and forth, and you know, talking regular life and stuff. So it wasn't all talking about Wyndham. You know, they're always trying to get to know you, make you feel like they're friend, they're your friend. And at one point, even one of the sales manager, Kelsey, the fitness model, you know, said she would want to buy a water machine. I sell water machines, Kangen water machines that are the best water in the world. It's alkaline ionized water. But and she ghosted me later on that too. You know, it's like they'll do whatever, right?
You know, I think I heard somebody else mention a water machine with a sales agent. So, Bill, are you having flashbacks right now? So, Bill can share. Can you share a little bit about the nightmare that you experienced? And it was, I think it was, we started talking about 6 years ago.
Yes, yeah. When Don was talking, I flashed back to sitting on the folding chairs in the room and the weasels. And I was in the car business my whole life too. And these guys make car salesmen look like amateurs. So, you know, speaking, I just had a flashback too of street evangelism. If before I went into that building in Vegas, if somebody walked by with a sandwich board and said, "Don't ever do a timeshare," I might have went, "Hmm." And again, you know the game. You know, you go in there to just look, and next thing you know, 7 hours later, you need a psychiatrist because they're good, and it's abusive. They're the best. They're an 11 on a 10 scale for sales. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody's better trained than these predators, and that's being nice.
Well, and then in addition to Wyndham, you also battled Holiday Inn.
Yeah, yeah. The only good thing on this whole thing is I got to meet Mike, our buddy, the attorney.
Mike Finn,
And
he's been on our
Mike,
show
yeah,
three
I
times.
actually went and visited him in person in Florida, and it almost made it worth it. However, many $1,000 we lost. So you know, something came up too, and I asked Irene yesterday. I think we had a private conversation, and for all these people, this class of people that are affected by these mega corporations, wouldn't it be nice if some point there was some litigation or some case law was set? Because so many people like had marriages wrecked and lost their houses, and you know, you know, and the other the sandwich board. You know, the guy on the street in Vegas should say, "Don't ever buy a timeshare." On the other side, you know, see other side of the sign. It's just the worst experience I've ever gone through, and my wife too. It's been very tedious.
And yet, the first person I ever talked to was Mike Finn, the attorney you mentioned. He was quoted in the New York Times as quoting the oral representation clause as the license to lie clause. So we're also going to be talking a little bit more. I had someone call just this morning, and he reached out to an attorney. And when he told me what that attorney said, I guessed the name of the attorney. I said, this guy needs to be disbarred. And this was a few years ago. Someone from his office was emailing from his legal office demanding more money. And the way it was being done, I thought, this guy is bad. And I looked up that person, and he spent 18 months in a prison for falsifying tax returns. So what this attorney told him is that they were going to charge him, and he's got serious medical challenges in his family. They were going to charge him $10,000, but they owe $6,000. Why would I pay you $10,000? Oh, well, it could end up being $60,000
Right.
with interest. And look here, and it says here that your kids and your grandkids could inherit this. And I'm like, first of all, the one good thing, well, there's a couple good things to say about Wyndham. There's a Facebook group of 40,000 Wyndham members that are really happy. So it's like when the product is sold honestly, it works for the family. One of the problems we're having with the active duty military people is you usually have to book pretty far in advance, and they get deployed, and then they can't default, some of them, because of the security clearance. And that is just awful. And so and every state has laws that allow an heir to disclaim an inheritance. Okay, so you were, and if I remember, I have this memory like an elephant when it comes to your histories here. They seem to never leave me. But you, if I remember, you had an every other year Wyndham week. And then they wanted to sell you something else, but you would have had to keep that every other year week. And you didn't want that every other. So then you went to Wyndham. Wyndham was the second one, right?
Is this me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Orange Lake and Wyndham. I'm not even sure at this point. One was
Yeah.
to save the other, and it
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah. Okay. And then you paid, that was about, so now we're up to, the first one was 12,000. I think the second one was 13 or 14,000. And so then you called Timeshare Exit Team.
Yes, yes. And then they wound up being scoundrels too.
Yeah. And, let's tell us how you ended up with Timeshare Exit Team.
Well, again, we're doing the time machine, but I would say I had a lot of respect for Dave Ramsey, and I know he was pushing for him. I don't remember if he was pushing for them then. So I don't remember if that's how I got there. We're talking over like 8-9 years ago.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I remember that you said that there was a drop-down menu on Dave's website that recommended Timeshare Exit Team.
I think you're correct. Do you take Prevagen or something? You have incredible memory.
No, I don't.
Oh, I think I should. Yeah,
No one should.
I think I somehow,
Yeah.
step by step. Oh, and then at that time, he had Ramsey had an impeccable reputation, so I thought. But anybody that could recommend any timeshare is suspect in my book.
And he was sued for $150 million by his fans for recommending Timeshare Exit Team. And in defense of some of these exit companies, is in the beginning, they did have some success, but then the developers all got together and decided that they were going to ignore. And so the difference between an exit company, oddly enough, they tend to be more expensive than a law firm, which makes no sense whatsoever, because a law firm can represent you. So you're basically turning the whole thing over to them, whereas the exit companies, you're doing all the work anyway. And when I, in 2016, realized I filed with 3 attorney generals and was offered my money back, then I thought, oh, and Kim, I forgot to mention that you and Don were both introduced to me by the same person. Yeah,
great.
yeah. So, and now we're going to move on to Melissa, another person that resolved one dispute, and now she's going to go and revisit her first dispute. So, and when a developer, a timeshare company, or an exit company, they do the right thing. The ones that are honest will refund if they don't do what they say they're going to do. So, Melissa, your story is absolutely heartbreaking, and we can go ahead and mention my friend Judy Kozlowski of Remax. Judy has spent 30 years in Hilton resales and rentals. So how you had first of all, why your Hilton is on the Big Island in Waikoloa. Why were you not happy with your Hilton week?
So I don't know if Bill and Dawn are aware, but what's different with Hilton compared to a traditional timeshare, I would say, is they market themselves as a vacation share, which means as long as you have the allotted points, you're not limited to only using 1 week. I can use my points as many times as I want to throughout the year on many, many different locations, domestically and internationally, as long as I have the points to spend. After the points are used up, I can then go to a cash value, which is like a discounted vacation. So back in 2019, my husband and I purchased a very small vacation share to be used for Las Vegas. We knew we weren't going to use Las Vegas, but again, they told us we can use our points at many different locations. And at the time, I was pregnant with our son, and we love to travel, so we always wanted to give our son um, experiences. Rather than have a birthday party every year, let's go to Disney instead. And then COVID happened, so of course we couldn't use any of our points. We upgraded our plan twice after the initial purchase, which then got us all of these points for Hawaii. The problem is, and we love Hilton, we're diamond members of Hilton. We use our free nights all the time, but we started to notice that every time we wanted to use our points, it was sold out.
Are you talking about Hilton Honors or the timeshare points?
The timeshare points.
Okay.
It was always sold out. And they had a stipulation that you had to use a minimum of 3 days, but there was never any openings. And we felt like we're only able to use this for Disney. And you can only go to Disney so many times. But we've tried to use it for Colorado to go snowboarding. They were always sold out. Hawaii was always sold out, and Hawaii was our home base. So after I think 4 or 5 times of not being able to use the points because of restrictions, we decided to get out of the plan. We reached out to Hilton and to see if they could buy back our share. And surprisingly, they actually offered us $8,000 to buy back the points.
So
And
windfall.
yes. And at that
Now you know it's a windfall.
Yes, now we do. We didn't know it at the time, but we were talking and said, we spent $40,000 on this share, so $8,000 is not going to cut it. So we entered into an exit timeshare program with another company, and the agent charged us $5,000 for advertisement and told us to not use our points because they anticipated it was going to sell quickly. So don't use your points. So this way, whoever buys your share has the allotted points already in their bank. Secondly, the agent we spoke to said we could easily get $35,000.
Okay, let me stop you right there because you're getting your real estate license. I don't know about South Carolina, but in Florida, it's against the law for an unlicensed person to suggest a listing price. And if you are a licensed person and exaggerate the listing price, you can lose your license.
For misrepresentation. Puffing.
Right. And did you talk to Judy before or after calling the exit company?
This was after. So back to the exit company, $5,000 for advertisement. And then they told us if we were to sell our timeshare through any means other than them, we would get our advertisement fee back. They also told us if we have to pay yearly maintenance fees, we just simply need to show that we paid them and they would reimburse us. So we ended up paying $4,000 in maintenance fees. And when I went for
for 2 years.
For 2 years.
Yeah.
And when I went through the company for reimbursement, we were told we were ineligible because we didn't pay another exclusive membership fee of $129, I believe, in order to get that money back. Well, we weren't told we had to get another membership fee. We were told this is a package deal with the $5,000 for the advertisement fee. So after some back and forth, I wasn't getting anywhere with them. I started calling lawyers. And so I found an amazing lawyer out of Las Vegas. His name is Len Julian. And he said, I have the girl for you. I need you to call Irene Parker because she is amazing and she will help you. So that's when I phoned you. And to get that ball rolling, we then spoke to Mrs. How do you say her last name?
Kozlowski.
Kozlowski.
But you called Judy before you called the
Nope.
exit company. No, okay. So then I was the one that said, let's ask Judy.
Yes.
And what you do is you can go to Redweek, Kingsland, Hilton, and it'll show you what the resale values are. But I'm not an expert on it, and Judy is. She's been
Yes.
30 years. And so
long
she,
story.
yeah.
So story short on that, she called me and she said, I'm not sure why they would ever offer to list it for $35,000 when right now the listing market value is about $2,000 to $11,000. So when she said that, we were kicking ourselves because then we realized it clicked what Hilton offered to buy back was in the range. And so we knew we were never getting $35,000. We had even decreased our listing price from $35,000 to $20,000 over, I think, 3 increments, and it never moved. So very recently, after a little bit of back and forth with the exit company, they offered $4,200, which was basically our advertisement fee less their filing fee. Which was still really frustrating because they never took into consideration how they promised to pay us back our maintenance fees. And the woman I spoke to just over the last weekend was, we are not eligible for anything more. And I really, really wanted to tell her, well, we're not eligible because you misrepresented yourself. And therefore, we are now being penalized for it. But at the end of the day, it was something. So now we're in the process of waiting for our check. And then I need to call Hilton back to see if they would then, I guess, honor the buyback pricing that they offered when we inquired the first go around. I don't know what they're going to say. They may say no. They may offer to take it back for no fee. At this point, anything is good with us. But it's been a nightmare with all of these hidden fees and vocabulary we're not familiar with, and the misrepresentation and the puffing, especially. It was, oh, Hawaii, it's such a great location, and the amenities and everything. But if you look at the ad that they placed on their website, it literally says nothing. There are no pictures. It just says a price, the unit, and how many points per year. That's it. So they're puffing to us, but they're really not doing anything to try to sell it on their end.
Well, and there's a big difference. How I got into this in 2016 was I called Magical Realty. They specialize in Marriott resales. And would you take a listing for my diamond points? And they said, no, we won't. And we don't know any licensed broker that will. As a matter of fact, we'll sell any points except diamond resorts. And I thought, what?
It's
So
crazy.
I surveyed 55 aptly named members of the LATURBA, Licensed Timeshare Resale Broker Association. And I got half of them said, well, if we say anything negative, we'll get sued out of business. And then but I learned that if I bought 20,000 points from you, to claim those points, I would have to buy 10,000 points directly from Diamond to join the club to be able to book at locations. And I thought, well, that's ridiculous. Now, if you have knowledge of the industry, now that you know what it is, if you had called one of these, there's several listing companies, and they get their money up front, as opposed to Judy or the other 55 licensed brokers that I reached out to. They work like traditional real estate agents, and you get paid at closing.
Yeah.
So if you call them and say, will you list my Berkshire Vacation Village? They'll say, well, it's not your worth my time or ours, your time or ours. And so, but if you call the listing company, they'll happily take your money.
But two things that you and I had spoke about just recently, a couple days ago, is since we do have experience in the industry, I really want your audience to know that timeshare is not traditional real estate. And I think that's what people get confused with because we did, right? You're not buying a piece of property, you're buying time. So if you are spending $50,000 on a timeshare and you want to get out of it, more than likely you're not going to get $50,000 back. You might get $10,000 back because you're purchasing a week and all of these other people are purchasing other weeks. So these timeshare companies are getting some exorbitant, overinflated monies from people like us. And then when we want to sell, they're basically, it's
So
it's
I want to
ridiculous.
ask a question. Did you have a actual deed with yours?
I have the deed. It's in my office.
Right. So what you bought was ownership interest. They do consider that property. I agree with you. I don't think it has anything to do with it. It's not a place where you keep and maintain anything.
Mhm.
We heard this in court. It's, you don't hang your toothbrush there and your clothes there forever. It's not even a vacation home that you get to keep. It's like you said, it's really time. It's 1 week or two, but it's ownership interest. It's a fraction. It's, they 52 weeks for that condo. Now, I came up with this theory. I think that they are overselling these. And so I would ask for the accounting of the unit that I purchased, right?
Mhm.
How many did they actually sell? Because it's illegal to oversell them. You had the same
They
problem.
don't oversell them. Kim, if you like with Wyndham or you buy points, but what they
Right.
do is they will assign a week, even though you're not have any guarantee of getting that week 23, but they do assign a week to make sure that the
But they can't
developers do
sell
not
that unit more
oversell.
than 52 times. And I
Yeah,
would
they
just
don't.
do it just to be anal a little bit. I would ask for the accounting of how many people own that unit. I know
Yeah.
what they're doing with the points because they kind of lied and sold me an app and points that didn't really exist. But the whole thing is it's all misrepresentation of oral representation when you sign. And Irene's right. It is a license to lie 100%, and this part needs to end. But at the end of the day, they're going to come back and say, this is what you bought, you signed the contract. But you have something that Lee told me about when I met him, and that's value of consideration. There is no value of consideration for what you purchase. And so write that down and use it. Use that as a legal term for what you're dealing with, because value of consideration means that there is no replacement value. There is no value of what you bought at all.
Just wait a minute. I just heard from Jeremy at Destination Timeshare,
Hi,
Kim.
Jeremy.
If you want to put that up, he said Dave Ramsey started endorsing Timeshare Exit Team in 2015. And he also said all the deeds are registered with the county. So you could verify that they don't sell more than 52 weeks for each year.
Right. Also, just be kind of careful because, Dave Ramsey is paid to be on
Oh, a
that
lot.
show. And I tell anyone, when you've got somebody who's being paid and has a paid sponsor and they're pumping someone up, don't believe a word they say when they're selling it to you or telling you this is how you do it, because it's all about monetization. They're just there to make money off of that. It has nothing to do with what it would really do. And I've lost a lot of respect in Dave Ramsey. There are some things that he has said over the years that I gained something from. But I will say this: the more and more I've listened to him in the last, say, 6, maybe 8 years, the less I've respected him. And most of it is the radio network that he works for and what he has got to promote. So I would just be careful of anyone who, they're paid for. That's why we are very careful at Pod TV. We don't have the massive advertising. It'd be nice to take it, but we've turned away from some because we've had doctors say we won't be on your network if you advertise for pharma. So okay, we won't. So, I would rather have the doctor and good, valuable advice and stories than I would pharmaceutical paying us to say something that could hurt people. And Dave Ramsey hurt people with that timeshare situation. The timeshare exit companies, to me, majority of them are bigger crooks than the timeshare company
Well,
itself.
and in advance of this, I thought back and just to correct one thing you said, Melissa, the person that you all met is not an attorney, but he knows more than most attorneys that I've met, kind of an office manager. But just a few, we had two people on here disputing trade block. And then, and also one person that we were able to help receive a refund from Encore Law. The Minnesota Attorney General investigated trade block, Encore Law, and Last Resort Consulting. What a name. And they were ordered to pay just in Minnesota residents $279,000. I also want to mention that there is one exit company. I feel they're really doing the right thing. They do a lot of work. So, if 1 out of 100 is doing the right thing, we want to give them credit. But the other one, I believe this was $90 million lost. Square One, and I know all of these names, Square One, and one of the principals of Square One ended up in jail for beating his girlfriend into a coma. And then I heard he was trying to run a new exit company from jail with a new girlfriend. And consumer law protection, someone who worked as an undercover investigator for the New York Attorney General's got duped by consumer law protection. They always sound so lofty. I say, I don't trust anybody that has consumer or advocacy in their name. And then Timeshare Help Source. Oh my gosh, they told someone, and this is a veteran, that they are endorsed by ARDA, the timeshare industry lobby, because they're helping people and there's so much money involved. So I gave them that owner the email address for the president of ARDA, and she CC'd him when she asked for her money back, and she was refunded. And then the resort transfer group, oh, I heard that over and over again. And then we had Judson Phillips. This was way back in 2018 or even before that. He was the founder of the Tea Party, and he's an attorney, and he's been disbarred. That was on, and then we had Laura Ingraham endorsed Resort Release, and they're out of business. Last but not least, we have Timeshare Elimination Team. They look like they're still in business, but there's an alert on the Better Business Bureau. Complaints primarily centered around their money back guarantee. So if you go through your money back guarantee of 3 years, one just upped it to 5 years, they'll come up with some reason why you didn't do your part. We asked you to send this and you didn't send it. Yes, I did. And you end up just like Captain Bill having to battle not only the two timeshares, but also the exit company, lack of communication, failure to fulfill promised services. Many customers reported feeling deceived and frustrated by the company's actions, particularly when they failed to honor the money back guarantee or provide support. So now let's start with who we started with. Let's begin end at the beginning. We got another 10 minutes, it looks like. Don, you would make a perfect TARDA volunteer. I'm hoping that you'll stay with us. And
We need protesters.
Yes. Not willing to hit the streets, not
voice
afraid.
of the people, the voice of the people.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just give me a couple minutes to explain how the down payment got defunded, because I disputed the credit cards Discover card, that small amount of 1467, that third charge, they did not fight that. They did not see that. They didn't come back on that the second time. And that, I believe that's God's grace. And that defunded the contract because the down payment was defunded. They asked for that payment. And of course, I said, I got the letter saying you need to send 1467. I'm going, why am I going to send you money? And then I realized it was the Discover charge. So don't send it, because they said in 30 days they'll cancel the contract. So boom, I'm waiting 30 days now. And then I get the letter saying the contract will be rescinded, all monies will be repaid. And that's where we're at now. But now we're still fighting that last loan payment that they claim they credited me. Walmart claimed they credited me in Barclays. But thankfully to this morning, it was redisputed, new case. And I will send in the paperwork I have, and hopefully that payment. But I would tell people on this, if you just signed up, dispute, especially if you put it on your own credit cards, if you're in my situation, dispute it and pray to God that they don't respond to it, and it will defund the contract by defunding the down payment.
Right. And one of the keys is you disputed it right away.
Right.
So yeah, that was really important. Lone Star Transfer, I have Jeremy's asking about. I have someone research them, and I just saw 2 paid content. You know,
Good
it looks like
question.
it looks like it's an article, but it's paid content. So I just saw paid content that they did on Google News, and there was someone that researched their background, and I would need to get that report to determine what they found. But again, you can deal directly with the developer. You don't have to pay anyone. Wesley Financial, to their credit, if they are not able to get you out, I don't know all the time, but every time that I've had someone reach out to them, it might have been a little bit of back and forth, but they did honor their money back guarantee. Unlike some of these outfits that just by the time their money back guarantee is expired, they've changed their name. And but again, there's not that many people on the planet that would do what we do for free. And we have an article on our website, Dispute Resolution, and you gather all of your contracts. If you bought 1 time or 10 times, it's good to know the flow. And I did this Saturday with a family that was just devastated. And I said, slow down. I'm just so excited. And he was a corrections officer. He worked in a prison as a collections officer. And what chance has the vulnerable? I mean, he can't be that easily to be duped. But, and then a lot of times people want out of the whole deal. If you bought 5 times and you were deceived the last 1 or 2 times, yeah, but I just don't want anything to do with this company anymore. Well, you signed a valid contract, and without deception, and then we have the license to lie oral representation clause in there that you agreed you didn't believe anything a sales agent said. So it's like, let some of the air out of the tires. At least you have to just, and so our volunteers just ask a lot of questions, and the answers to those questions, just like with Captain Bill, I can remember, everything that happened from way back then, just because it seems like when I write something down, I always remember it. So we had Norma on our show, Disputing Wyndham. Her husband has been a pastor for 53 years. I'd like to introduce you, Don. She is amazing. And she went back and forth, stall, ignore. This is the Wyndham Cares Department that are experts at stalling and ignore. So I really credit Kimberly Calhoun with her resolution, because you were in Raleigh and the Wyndham media person was in Raleigh, and we sent the link to this interview Kim did to that media person, and it was so obvious. Somebody that's been with Wyndham for 30 years and using their credits their Walmart credits for their presbyters. He's over 90 churches in California and Arizona or Nevada, someplace. And if you don't buy Wyndham points, you're going to lose your club pass. That's not something that would even be in the contract. So she was able to resolve her dispute, but she's going to remain a Wyndham
I was
member.
nice. I told him, I said, we're broadcasting this, and I'll give you an opportunity to come on the show and tell us how much you really care.
Well, and
There you
I
go.
told
nice.
the company that Melissa contracted with, I invited them to be on the show today. And, we want to hear the other person's opinion. And so, Bill, I really appreciate your being on here because I know you're someone that would rather never hear the word timeshare again.
Wow.
Well, and a lot of people don't know that the laws are not in our favor right now. They've shut
No.
down the Consumer Protection Bureau, who actually was, I think, in a way, making laws improved. And this is not political. This is just the honest to God truth. Trump is partnered with timeshares. His towers are partnered with Hilton.
Yes, they are.
And people have asked when he's gone to other countries while he was the president and stuff like that, is he here trying to sell us on a timeshare, or is he here as the president? We haven't figured it out yet. So he is
The golf course in
of it.
Scotland
But you're not going to get the laws changed right now.
Right. The Trump organization owns a timeshare in Scotland, that golf course that we heard about.
Yeah, but
we still have
he partnered with Hilton. His
Yes.
towers are
Yeah.
timeshares too. So of course the laws are not going to work in the favor of those who are being scammed. And they all go to this big university con man sales pitch program. Let him teach you how to sell kind of deal. But the oil representation does not match the contract. Does not. And I think the only way to win is to record any sales pitch you're in forever. Like, it doesn't matter whether it's timeshare, car, anything. Just record it.
But we still have the Federal Trade Commission. And in 2024, timeshare sales and vacation plans were number 9 on the top 10 scam list. In 2020, timeshare sales and vacation plans were number 9, and timeshare resale scams were number 10. So it's very important to file. Yeah,
right.
We have
but
to
they haven't changed the laws, and nobody goes out and reads that. And when you're sitting in that room, they can't. They're not made to sit there and go, oh, by the way, we're rated top 10 in the scam industry. They're not supposed. They don't have to disclose that. They should. They should have to disclose that. You know what? You should be able to say, because you know how they get you to fill out the thing, and are you involved in any disputes? Have you paid your taxes? We should be able to ask them the same questions. So
we have next week. We're going to go and start next week on a positive note. We have Volka back, and Jeremy from Destination Timeshare is going to be back. And I signed up with My Resort Co-op for a 3-year program for RCI points. So if you do like resorts, but you don't want to sign for the rest of your life on a contract, then that's something that we're looking forward to having next year. And Melissa, we hope to have you back after you're licensed and become one of our experts in the real estate division. There's a lot of complaints in South Carolina.
Are you learning a lot about how it relates to timeshares versus real estate?
Not a lot, but definitely a huge chunk of it. I used to work for a national title company as well, working multiple states. So it definitely is coinciding, and I'm learning a lot more now about the timeshare than I did when I first signed up for the timeshare. So we're progressing. We're doing good.
Yeah, I mean, and we're at the top of the hour. Everyone, thank you for joining us. I hope
Thank you,
everyone is
everyone.
having a beautiful day. Count your blessings before
Yes.
you face your challenges. And you know what? Don't forget, we are here every week, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Timeshare Solution or Surrender. Irene does share good stories too. We've had a lot of great results out of this. We are here to help provide do-it-yourself solutions so that you can go out there and help yourself as opposed to maybe hiring an attorney or the exit companies. But don't forget to help and join us, right? Share your story. And everyone have a safe and happy day. I guess we're over the holiday, aren't we?
Well, for us, Easter lasts through Pentecost, right?
Right. And, you know, the Pope did pass away the day
Yeah,
after.
yeah.
You know, so I've heard that many people are flying their flag half mast. I am lighting candles. So everyone take care. It's a crazy world.
Thank you.
Thank you.